Howdy, everybody. It's Roamin Rich. Good evening out there. It's Sunday, May the 7th. And I hope for all you Star Wars people out there that you had a good 4th. May the 4th be with you. And everybody always gets off on that. So it's a good little Star Wars joke. So anyway, this is 66 Minutes with Roamin Rich. Episode number 12. 12 straight weeks we've been shooting this show. Same time, same place, at least for the last 10 weeks or so. Every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time. You can catch us here. It's live, unscripted. We talk about all things Route 66. And usually I've got some pretty good guests on with me. But tonight, I don't. Tonight, I just have me. And so we're going to open up the chat. And I'm going to take suggestions. We've also going to show a QR code up in the corner of your screen. And if you feel like joining in with me and talking, go right ahead, because I'm eager to meet all you guys out there and get you on the show and get your thoughts, concerns, questions, anything you want to throw my way tonight. I'm an open book. So just scan that QR code, use your phone, use your laptop, use your webcam on your computer, and sign on up. George will get you in here in the studio and we'll put you on the screen and we'll talk about Route 66 for a while. That would be cool. So usually the first thing we do is we go into my shirt of the day. And today I'm wearing this kind of quirky shirt. I'll have to stand up because we didn't load it in the deck. Hey, George, get rid of the lower third there. There we go. 1984. And so some of you may or may not recognize those characters. We've got Garfield there. And we got Alf right here. 1984 is this quirky little vintage arcade in Springfield, Missouri. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here in just a second. I'm going to show you some pictures. I love this place. If you were ever a kid or a teenager or a young adult in the 80s, you will love this place. It's just chock full of video arcade games and pinball machines and tons, I mean, literally tons of 1980s memorabilia. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick, and we're going to show you some of this stuff here. Let's see here. Okay. Share. All right. So there's the old Qbert machine. Oh, now my screen's going to go black on me and wait a little bit. So it'll pop up here in a second. It loves doing this. Maybe it's going to make me look silly.
Hey, just so you know, I see it. You may not see it.
There it
I
is.
see it. You guys all see it? I think we all see it.
That's crazy.
Technology. It is what it is.
Hold on a second here. Let's try something. Let's try a different view here. I'm going to try it again, because I'm not seeing the same thing you guys are seeing. Now, there we go. There it is. There's the old Qbert machine. That's a classic. Let's see what else we got. It's not going to show the next frame. Boy, nice new computer. Gotta love it. Let's try doing it this way. No, nice new computer.
It's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's how George feels on the other side.
No, it's the computer, man. It's really slow. I don't know what the problem is. It just does not really wanting to load things up. It's just black screening me. Really crazy. Yeah, that's awesome. Nice black screen. And it doesn't even give me the ability to thumb through images.
We'll close it up and wait there while you got it. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, we can do it this way. There's pinball machines.
Let's split that.
There. Oh, that just made it worse. Right there. Yeah, lots of cool stuff. This is a really neat place. I took a lot of photos the first time I went there. Just about any video game arcade game you can think of, they got it. So much cool stuff. I mean, they've got old TVs, they got old cell phones, they got old Apple Macintoshes and stuff, and they got these old tabletop games. Just tons and tons of neat stuff. All those classic arcade games. And I was never much of a gamer as a kid, but who didn't like going to the video game arcade and just dropping a quarter in the slot and playing for a while? This right here is my favorite game as a kid, 1942. I used to play that like crazy up at the old 7-Eleven convenience store up the street from my house. It was a lot of fun. What else we got? There's the Apple computer that they've got there on display. An old bag phone, an old cell phone from probably the late 80s. My dad had one almost just like that. So lots of neat stuff. This is another game. Actually, a friend of mine, Jeff, has this exact video game in his shop, and it's been in his shop since he was a kid. His dad had it. We used to go over there to his shop and play the video games all the time. It was pretty cool. So, all right. Well, and then
Hey, go back to that photo. Go back to the one on the door. I want to know something.
The door?
Not that one. It was one of the earlier ones. It had some blood on it.
Oh, Vankman. Hold on.
I'm watching your comments, guys. I want to know who knows what the reference is.
There's a good image of Gene Simmons there in a pinball machine. Where did it go?
It was really towards the top there.
There it is.
Everybody knows the reference, right? I'm hoping you know the reference.
I mean, I know what movie it's from.
Okay.
It's from Ghostbusters. But I don't know the reference necessarily.
Oh, I mean, it's the reference is Ghostbusters, and I never know. So I'm just coming on to make sure that people know.
Who doesn't know Ghostbusters? We're not going to get into movie trivia.
We're not. All right, you go. May the fourth be with you.
Yeah. So in addition to the shirt, I got this snazzy new hat here too. You can see it says Gilligan 66. And that came from about 2 weeks ago. I was hosting a bunch of New Zealanders on a Route 66 tour. I was accompanying them from Springfield, Illinois to Lebanon, Missouri. And we had a pretty good time. Maybe get this a little bit bigger here. Yeah, there's the Auburn Road, the brick road that we show there. They were touring that. They liked that a lot. We did turkey tracks, and we did a lot of great stuff. Went through the Carlinsville Courthouse, which I've never done before. That was pretty neat. I got some really great pictures there inside the courthouse. If you can ever go there, try to go during lunchtime during the week because court adjourns and they'll let you go in and tour the actual courtroom. It's pretty amazing. That courthouse was called the $1 Million Courthouse a long time ago because it cost over $1 million to build it when it was built, and that was a large sum of money back then. One of the nicer courthouses on all of Route 66, and they call them Kiwis from New Zealand. They got to enjoy a little bit of Ted Drew's there, and I took them to the Gasconade Bridge, and we got to tour that and stuff, and we just had a great time. I left them at the Mugger Moss. They kept going west, and I went home. But I got this cool hat from doing the tour with Gilligan. So big appreciation to Sam Murray for putting on that tour. These people, they come over here, they spend a ton of money to travel Route 66 to come here from Australia, New Zealand, just all over the place. And I mean, they could go anywhere in the world and they come here to see Route 66. So that means a lot to me. It's very special. And I'm really thankful for that because it kind of keeps the road going. We've got some visitors, it looks like. So Bruce Bell is on. Let's let Bruce in, George. Hey, Bruce, how's it going, buddy?
So I'm going to jump in because I have a feeling Bruce is having some issues that some of our people have when they normally log onto the show. So what you guys don't see is we normally have everybody log in around 6:30 to work out these kinks. We have an open forum tonight, letting you guys come in. As you can see right there, Bruce seems to be having little issues. Bruce, we're going to try to get you on. Anybody else that clicks that QR code at the top, just make sure that you read those directions very thoroughly. You do need to activate and give access to your camera and your microphone in order for us to be able to pull you on. Otherwise, all we see is BB for Bruce Bell. So if you guys have any issues, we also have a private chat that goes on during that we can always try to talk through that. I'll be walking you through the process, but just to give anybody a heads up that's what needs to happen for you guys to get live here with Roamin Rich. We'll work on Bruce while he goes through the rest of these photos.
Yeah, I hope he comes back in. You just got to make sure that you give all permissions and allowances to access your camera and the microphone for the website for your whatever browser you're using. or if you're using your phone, you got to do the same thing. So just make sure you give all the permissions. I'm looking through the comments. Let's see here. The guidebooks. Turn-by-turn navigation. So not sure who asked, but somebody wants to know if we're using turn-by-turn navigation. And I've never used it. I kind of developed a map almost 20 years ago based off a laptop. I still use it occasionally, but this particular tour right here at Gilligan's, he uses Route 66 navigation, and he really loves it. I know the whole group, there was 15 cars, and we managed to kind of stay together, even though people have liberty of doing their own thing to some degree. We ended up hitting the same stops right about the same time. So we made stops at Auburn. We made stops at Ted Drew's. We stopped at the Shamrock. We stopped at a bunch of different places. And somehow we kind of all got there within the same amount of time, roughly. So Route 66 navigation, it's produced by Marion Pavel. He does a great job. He comes over here several times a year to update the app, and he's constantly making improvements to it. So check it out. It's subscription-based. You pay, I think, by the week to use it. So I've heard a lot of great things about it, and give it a shot. Route 66 navigation. Let's look through some of the other comments here. Jorge Mendez wants to know if there are any places along Route 66 that I would recommend avoiding due to safety concerns. Well, it's not just Route 66. It's any big town or city that you go through. I don't think you're really safe anywhere. You always run a risk of having something stolen or taken from you. So I think the best thing is, it looks like my kids have logged in. They're gonna try to get on the show here. So I think the best thing is to pack your stuff up in such a way that it's not on display in your vehicle, and don't go parading around with cameras and stuff like that. And so people aren't targeting you, but just use common sense. So when I had the New Zealanders in St. Louis, and no matter what people say, St. Louis is risky. So you want to try to travel in groups too. So don't go out by yourself. Try to travel in pairs. And I would always recommend pick a good solid time to travel if you're in these cities, big cities. St. Louis is a rough one. Chicago can be rough. Downtown LA can be rough. Parts of Albuquerque can be rough. Just use common sense. Don't go out after probably in the peak hours of crime, which would be late night. You might find yourself being a victim, and don't leave opportunities for people to capitalize on you. Like, for years, the lot at the end of the Chain of Rocks Bridge in Missouri, on the Missouri side, used to be open. They finally gated it off and blocked it off because it seemed like every time somebody stopped in there, got out of their car, left their stuff, went and walked up on the bridge. Well, the criminals know how long you're going to be gone for. It's the greatest opportunity for them right there, because they can go 4 or 5 different directions. Nobody's ever going to catch them. And so don't leave stuff out. Even with your windows up, they'll smash your windows, and they'll come get all your stuff. Okay. George. Oh, who do we got there?
Hello.
That's Ricky and Cyrus. Those are my boys. Two of the 3 boys of mine. What's going on, boys? You got a question?
Not really.
Just wanted to come on the show, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me ask you a question. What's your favorite thing on Route 66?
The blue whale. Yes, the blue whale.
Yeah, I knew that. The blue whale. Yeah, we can maybe post an image of that later. That seems to be a favorite amongst all kids, is the blue whale, and adults. Every time someone sees it for the first time, they go a little crazy. So, okay, boys, thanks for coming on. I'll see you guys for dinner.
Okay.
All right. It looks like we might have another guest with us, George. Who do we got? Gary Daly? All right. Or Daly? It looks like we might have another guest with us, George. Who do we got? Gary Daly? Gary, you're going to have to turn your speakers down. Another guest with us, George. Who do we got? Gary Daly? Gary, you're going to have to turn your speakers down.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Speakers down, Gary. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with a perpetual echo. Okay, let's try that. We good? I can't hear you, Gary. How do we do this so well?
I'm kind of a mental midget when it comes to technology.
You're figuring
Well,
it out.
You're on now, Gary.
Good. I don't know where the
now.
echo was coming from.
Well, doesn't matter. We're through it now. What's going on, Gary? Good evening. Thanks for joining me. What's up?
Oh, you're welcome. Just wanted to check in with you and join you on the show. As I've told you, you are the inspiration, the reason that I have started to embrace the root. And I started watching your YouTube videos about the last couple of years of my career, and you got me interested in it. I'm into dog rescue, and some friends in Victorville were down there, and I put 2 and 2 together. It's like, well, I'm so close while I'm here. Why don't I just start checking out some of the stuff in California? And on the way home, figured out twin arrows, 2 guns. And, I stopped in to see Cindy at the Jackrabbit. And so it was, from there, I've been able to do most of half of the route, and then I joined you at the Shamrock relighting ceremony last March.
Right,
that
I
was
was seeing you out there. Yeah,
it was really a fun time. Got to meet a lot of the really good roadies, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, just I wanted to chime in here and say thank you for all you do for the route, and want to be part of the show tonight. So,
well, I appreciate it. You have any questions or topics of discussion that you want to bring up at all?
No, I think like earlier, there was a gentleman that asked just how you yourself, Mr. Rich, got your start on Route 66 and that kind of thing. So,
well, I can try to sum that up. As a young boy, probably about the age of 7 years old, I learned how to ride a bicycle. I was kind of a late starter when it comes to riding bicycles, but once I could, I was off. I was gone. And I grew up in a small town called St. Charles, Missouri. It's a small town by today's standards, but back then it was a big town.
Yeah.
And that's where Lewis and Clark started their adventure west.
Very cool.
Exploring the Louisiana Purchase. And I grew up just a few blocks away from there. There was always lots of cool old things to explore, and places and buildings and pathways and railroad tracks and creeks. And, as a kid, I didn't spend a lot of time watching TV. I spent most of my time out roaming around, adventuring, and upsetting my mother when I didn't come home at the right time, and things like that. Yeah, I would leave after school, and I wouldn't come home till 9 o'clock at night. 10 o'clock at night sometimes, and she would get ticked off. But back then, it's crazy. It was completely different because you didn't have cell phones and stuff. So if I was lucky, I could maybe go in and use a friend's house phone and check in, but that was a rare occasion. You just kind of had to have faith that your kids were smart enough to survive.
Right. We learned a lot that way, though, I think.
Yeah. I never got tired of exploring and adventuring. Even in my late teens, I would go out and explore and find old pathways and old bridges. I just didn't embrace that idea that that's who I was and that's what I really love. I just found myself doing it spontaneously and randomly. I was just doing it because I don't know, it's just what I was compelled to do. And I still do that. It's not just 66. Anytime I can find an old pathway or a road, man, I'm on it.
Yep.
I'm all over it.
I'm right there with you. Yep.
So what kind of dogs are you into messing with and breeding and rescuing, or you don't do breeding, you do rescuing?
No, absolutely no breeding at all. I actually had one dog that came from a puppy mill in Lebanon, Missouri. He spent 8 years in a cage. And so I'm very adamant about, I really like to encourage people to adopt. There are definitely reputable breeders, but you really have to check into that. Mostly what I did, I've kind of had to back off a little bit, but I had a rescue in Colorado, and I would get in a van and did this for about 2 years and go down to Raton, New Mexico, and meet another van that was taking dogs from Roswell, Clovis, and Portales mostly. And we were transporting to Colorado and find different rescues and find homes for my roommate and I. We transported probably over 2,000 dogs in that 2-year span. So
that's very admirable.
Yeah,
Man, that's amazing. Thank you for doing all that.
You're welcome. I mean, dogs just grab a piece of my heart, and probably a lot of people can agree that dogs, I think dogs are more are much. I don't know how to say. I kind of lost track what I was saying there, but yeah. So Lee, he came from Route 66, and then I adopted a little dog, Frankie, from Barstow Humane Society, which happens to be right on Route 66. And
that's cool.
He was abandoned in the desert in Barstow, and so we adopted him. And that was Lee kind of got me associated with a group that they actually formed an organization to raise money for the high desert and for Barstow and that kind of thing. So both of those two doggies have passed away, but in our journeys, we spent several thousand miles going up and down Route 66. I have several pictures with them, like right at the base of the Twin Arrows when they still had both arrows, two guns. We spent the night in the teepee in Holbrook. We just had a lot of great adventures. And so that transition now, I don't have those two to take with me, but I still, kind of like you, I've always, as a kid, always loved to travel. Went with my father when I was in summer vacation. He would be on the road for a couple weeks, and so I'd go with him, and we'd just adventure. And back then there wasn't too many chain motel or hotels, and so we would always do the mom and pop motels. And so everything along the route is just right up my alley as well. So yeah, it's been really. I've been very fortunate the last 3 years or so to be able to get out on the road and, like you say, not just Route 66, but whatever road I can go to. Grand Teton is one of my favorite areas in the whole world.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
hey Gary, I notice on your back wall you've got the Jackrabbit Trading Post, and it looks like it says you're 690 miles away. Is that right?
Yes, I am. Right from where I'm sitting. Actually, I did my your location when I located that. Obviously, I'm not all on Route 66 in Denver, but a majority of that is. And yeah, Cindy and Tony are just wonderful people along the route, great ambassadors, and just truly good people in general. Even if they weren't on Route 66 and you needed help, I bet you they'd pull over to give you a hand. So
sure, I bet they would.
Yeah.
Hey Gary, I've got 2 other people in line. Before I let them in, tell me, what's your most favorite place on Route 66?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to say, let's see, this would have to be probably plural. I think that Jackrabbit, I like Blue Swallow, and Roadkill Cafe. Largely because I've gotten to know them really cool. I do like the Lyle Art Gallery as well. As you can see down below the Jackrabbit, I got the X-ray print there, and I'm also wearing some Catalite jewelry. So those are kind of 4 of my favorites that I can name off the top of my head. I don't really think there is. I think every place I stop is a favorite of mine along Route 66. So.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I'll have to get Crocodile Lyle on here one night, and he can show off some of his art and his abilities of making that Catalite jewelry. That'll be really neat.
Yeah,
Gary,
it's stunning in his gallery. It really is a great place to stop in and check out. So,
well, he's a great guy, full of all sorts of wisdom and knowledge and experience.
Yeah,
all sorts of advice.
Yeah, I learned a lot about Amarillo's Route 66 from him, and then just down the street as well with Dora at Texas Ivy. So. I'm going to let some other people come on there. Thank you for letting me hog a couple minutes of your time here. And
sure, thanks, Gary.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, you have a good night. Go your own way, and I'll see you down the road someplace.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
Absolutely. As you see, thanks, I use your quote on some of my pictures on Facebook occasionally. So
feel free, go for it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Gary. All right. So, George, who are we bringing in next? Are we bringing in Rita, Penny, Gary Daggett? Is that who we're bringing in?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
boy,
guys.
it's
Nope.
trouble.
Hey.
Triple trouble.
Yes. Yeah, there's
How's
more
it going?
coming
So I
around.
see.
Katrina.
Oh, no.
Hey there.
Katrina,
You see
Stephanie, Penny, and Rita.
Hi. Why am I
How's it going,
muted?
ladies? Oh, there's the fifth one. That's not a lady. That's Gary.
You see you, Gary? There he is.
You guys doing the red carpet corridor?
We
Yeah.
sure did.
That's cool. How was it?
Fun.
It was great. We loaded down
So-
a lot of pictures. Or loaded up. like
So
there was-
Penny, or one of you people there, I was going to say gals, but then Gary walked in. Explain what the red carpet corridor is for all those viewers out there who may or may not be interested, but that need to have the explanation of what red carpet corridor means. And then before you start answering, do they still have the blue carpet corridor as well?
No, the blue carpet corridors no longer exists, unfortunately. The red carpet corridor is basically the same thing. Illinois is the red, white, and blue carpet corridor. And the red at this time was from Joliet down to, actually, Towanda kind of participated a little bit this time, although they said they weren't on the list. But anyway, it was, you just go from town to town, and most times they have a really cool collectible that you'll not get anywhere else, but you get to visit. And now it's back to 2 days. So now we had opportunity to go stop and visit with friends. Before it was like a mad dash to try to make sure you completed your collection. But it's Route 66, and you know it's what we do. Just, I can't really explain much more than that. I'm not good at it.
So it's kind of like a fun run or a motor tour,
Yeah,
but
it's kind of-
it's self-guided, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yes, we've done a scavenger hunt where we had to run like crazy, and since they brought it down to only 1 day, like I said, it was just too hard to keep up. So we've got it back to 2 days now, and we get to spend a lot more time visiting and seeing friends. Like we got to see Terry Ryburn today, and Debbie Jo was kind enough, her and Ron Romero, to let us to see the Illinois Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yesterday. So that's where we started out.
That's cool. Well, that's pretty neat.
It was great.
I've done a couple of those. I don't remember which one I did. We went through Carlinville, I believe.
That was the blue carpet.
Yeah, it was a blue carpet
I really
corridor.
wish they were still doing that. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I miss it.
Well, it is kind of neat how they broke it up into segments. Made it a lot easier to get things done, because I tell people a lot, you know, people ask me, where should I start doing 66? And if they don't have a time limit, I tell them they should start Route 66 in St. Louis. And a lot of people were like, St. Louis, why? Well, because really Illinois has two veins going up through the middle of it. You have your oldest section of 66,
Yeah.
and then you have your newer alignment of Route 66, and they're vastly different. And so I usually tell people, start in St. Louis, take your old alignment up, old Route 4, and then go up to Chicago, spend a few days, and come back down the newer alignment, which is a much faster alignment to travel. And I mean, you can spend a week easily in Illinois going up and down from St. Louis.
Absolutely. Well, Springfield itself, like almost every street in town here, has been Route 66 at one point or another. So it's
Yeah, it's not as much of a maze as St. Louis is, but it's
No,
got quite a few alignments.
no, ours is just up and down, back and forth, crisscrossing. It's
Yeah.
not looping around a lot.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
get,
well,
we can get
I
lost
still
here.
don't have all St. Louis figured out.
I get lost here.
We need a light in here.
It's really dark in there.
Yeah.
Turn your lamp on right this second.
Well,
Is it too bright?
I-
It's too bright back here.
I got a feeling that the light I have is probably going to be a little too
That's
bright.
better.
In the
That's a little better.
wrong- It's gotten better. It's gotten.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, let's
So,
put the red light
what
on.
else
Thanks.
What else is everybody doing? So I see Rita and Stephanie and Gary. Oh my gosh. All right. So Stephanie and Gary, they're from Texas. They are the leaders of the Texas Route 66
So
Association.
introduce yourself.
And then Rita is from Wisconsin. She's like the queen roadie. and she
Yes,
always comes to all these
she does
different
everywhere.
events. She's joined several times with the Shamrock events and things like that, and some of the motor tours. So, what's on your guys' agenda for the next few days?
Time to head home. You guys are heading home.
Yeah, we got to head back to Texas, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we got a couple days, so we'll be doing some Route 66 and through St. Louis and Missouri and Oklahoma on the way home.
Gary, tell us about your motor tour coming up this October.
Oh man, well, it's our second motor tour. Last year went pretty good, and this year we're collaborating with Oklahoma a little bit. Reese Martin, the Oklahoma president, we're going to do one day in Oklahoma from Clinton to Shamrock, Texas, and then our second day we're going to do Shamrock to Amarillo, Texas. So we got a lot of good things planned, a lot of fun stuff planned for that motor tour.
So we're ending in Amarillo. We're not gonna get out and hike the Bridwell Ranch.
No, not on this motor tour. Maybe we can do a
The
hiking.
10-mile hike.
Do a hiking tour of 66 through Texas if you want to come on out and do that again.
That was rough.
Yeah,
I didn't think Gary was gonna make it.
Yeah,
I thought Nick and I were gonna have to carry him out.
yeah. I did though. I surprised you guys.
That was 10 years ago, man. Can you believe that?
Oh man, it's hard to believe. I still remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
That's
Gary and I, and along with Nick Gerlich, we went out and hiked across this no man's land section of 66, about 10 miles long,
yeah.
and got to see some of the coolest stuff that probably
Oh, boy.
99% of Route 66 enthusiasts never get to
Don't
see.
yeah,
And it was great. I'm glad we did that.
yeah. It was some nice little bridges and gas stations and a lot of cool stuff back there on that
So-
stretch.
What's going on in Amarillo the last night of the motor tour?
We're gonna have a banquet that night, so we'll have a banquet and some music and dinner. So the motor tour is not a bad deal for $50. You know, you get 2 lunches and a banquet dinner. So, you know, we put most of your ticket money right back into you. You know, we have swag bags and we feed you 3 times. So it's our sponsors that really help us put on the good stuff for you. We try to give you your money back in everything we do for you. So, you know,
That's a great way to go. Yeah.
October
I think
6th
we're
or 7th.
signed up for it.
Oh, good. It'd be great to see you out there this year.
Hey.
Yeah, you can hear Katrina in the back. She's happy. I hope we bring Lily with you.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to come. I'm not for sure, but I know we talked about it, and it really kind of came down to Lily because it's right about her birthday time. So
Very
if
cool.
she wants to go spend it in
cool.
Texas, I think we'll probably shoot down that way.
His
Yeah.
birthday
Stop,
weekend.
Penny. Stop.
His birthday.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's on my birthday weekend, too.
We also have the festival
Yeah.
coming up in a month.
What day is your birthday, Gary?
The 7th.
Okay, hers is the 13th, so it's just after
Okay.
that.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we have our big festival coming up next month in Amarillo, too. Actually, across all of Texas. So we've already started planning to celebrate the 100th. So this is going to be our first festival this year. It's a 10-day festival from June 1st through 10th, and we're going to do it for the next 4 years until 2026. So
Hopefully.
Wow, that's going to be quite the undertaking. So tell me about that. Is that a roving festival, or is that hub and spoke,
yeah.
or how is that going to work?
So it's going to start off in Amarillo. We've kind of incorporated the rodeo into it. So we'll start off with the rodeo, and then we're going to have the kickoff night at the baseball game with fireworks, and then a parade on Saturday with a cattle drive down 66. And then during the week, we're going to have some different stuff in the little towns across the Panhandle. So it's not just in Amarillo. It's actually across the whole state for those 10 days. And then we're going to have some east and west bus tours. And then a big festival at the end on the 10th down on historic 6th Street with a big old stage and bands. And we're going to have 66 blocked off for about a mile. It's going to be a good time. You know, it's not too early to start celebrating the 100th. You know, it's right around the corner.
You can also find all that information on visitamarillo.com.
Visitamarillo.com. So they're helping you guys fund the festival, or you're helping them, I guess?
No, this is all our Centennial Commission has put this together, and Amarillo CVB is funding it this year. And we've got sponsors. Amarillo National Bank just gave us a big chunk of money to help with the festival. And, you know, like I said, we're going to do this for the next 4 years. You know, we're starting to celebrate now.
Oh, yes, and don't forget, you can come get
That's cool.
passports with coins.
Yeah, we're going to have some cool passports.
Passports and coins?
Yeah, you go to each town along the Panhandle, and they're going to have a coin that you put in this passport. So you can find out that information on Visit Amarillo too. I mean, it's gonna be a pretty cool 10 days.
It sounds like it. I wish I was closer to Texas.
Well, maybe next year, huh? You come on out.
You're
We'll
closer
see.
than I am.
I'm
Rich, you're closer than
if
I am.
I could just get everything saved and be done with it, then I could move on with doing fun stuff.
There you go.
Quit saving bridges and roads and
Oh, man.
motels and things like that. Yeah,
Well, we do a little bit of that too. You know, we're working on that.
I know you guys do.
McLean.
Yep.
We're getting the roof on it this week, so
Yeah, hopefully.
new roof. On
Did you
that.
raise enough money?
Yeah.
Well, we need a little more to finish the stuff, but we got enough to get the roof. That was the most important. The roof is leaking, so but we got a roofing company that decided to donate a lot of their time and material to help us out. So we're getting a roof on it this week. We still need to raise some funds to help stabilize the building, but we'll get there.
Well, I'm going through some of the questions right now. And again, everybody out there, feel free to scan that QR code and join us. But I'm just going to go through some of these questions. Somebody asked if I ever found my toolbox that I lost. I posted on Facebook that I lost my toolbox that I'd had for like 21 years.
Oh, man.
And no, I never found it. I spent a ton of money finding an old vintage from the 1990s, early 2000s Craftsman set, and replaced it with that. And then somebody else was asking about motels along 666. I think it was our top commenter, Jorge Mendez. He's definitely our top commenter. He wanted to know about motels to stay at or not to stay at. And honestly, I just use Google reviews.
Yeah.
And
Good place.
And when in doubt, I'll give you some solid advice, Jorge, or anybody else out there. When in doubt, when you go up to the office to rent your room, number one, tell the manager that's running the motel, I'm traveling Route 66. So that automatically separates you from all the various crackheads and things like that they have to deal with on a nightly basis. So they know that you're actually doing something good. And ask to see the room. You can always do that. Ask to see the room. Check out the room before you rent it, and then make a decision. That's a choice. That's what I would do, and that's what I have done for years. And there's been a couple of times where I turned a room away.
Oh, definitely.
There's a couple of times I wish I'd turned a room away. But
We've all been there.
it's all part of the adventure. It's all part of the fun. I mean, one of my most dear memories was staying at the Pioneer Motel in Springfield, Illinois.
Where
What
we
a
all
dump.
are.
You stayed there?
It's kind of confusing. I rented a room there,
Oh.
and I had a bicycle at the time. This is long before having the one wheel. At one time, I had a motorized bicycle that I built to go and explore old alignments of 66 as I traveled. And it had a little rack for my laptop and all this stuff. It was like the giant Nerdmobile, but I blew a tire on it. And so I used my room to disassemble the bicycle, to change the tire. And then I slept in the adventure truck out in front of the room.
Oh,
I didn't dare take my clothes off or my socks or anything off in that room. It was so deplorable.
Wow.
Hopefully, they've made some improvements there, but it was rough. It was
actually
definitely the worst
Yeah.
motel ever.
It does, and the owner is a very nice guy, but I've never checked the rooms out, honestly. I just went in and talked to him.
So, in full disclosure, that was 14 years ago. So there could have been some positive changes. I don't want to slam the Pioneer Motel. I just want to bring light to, hey, even a bad situation can become a good memory.
Right.
Yeah.
Very true.
So,
Hey, Rich, can I throw one more
I
thing
think
in
there was
there?
another. Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
We were talking about our motor tour and also trying to raise money for the Phillips station. You can look up both of those at rt66oftexas.com if you want to know more information.
Yeah. Or if you can't remember that, just Google Texas Route 66
Yeah, you can do that too.
Association. Yeah, find it and throw them some bucks for that roof. They're doing a good job out there in McLean, Texas, putting on a new roof on the old Phillips 66 cottage-style gas station there in the middle of town.
We're also
And,
going
that
the
town-
floats and everything too, so it's going to look real good. Hopefully, once we get it all done.
That's great. thanks everyone for joining me. And you know,
Thanks for having us
I got
on.
one other person here in queue. So you guys, I know you're probably at your house, right? Aren't you, Penny?
Yeah.
Red pennies.
Party at Penny's house.
Good luck getting rid of everybody.
We'll see you later.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Get
See you
better.
guys.
Bye, Rich.
Okay. Next guest coming in, I think, is John Loban. Let's bring him in, George. Is John ready?
Yes.
Oh, John was ready. Sorry, John.
Hi, George. Hi,
You said
Rich.
you were working on stuff. If you're ready, let's do this.
Is the audio working?
Yeah, you sound.
Yeah, John. You
Is
sound
the audio
fantastic.
working?
Okay.
Can you hear us?
What do you
set
have
this
set
up.
up here, man?
This is set up for doing webcast. Elizabeth has a small YouTube channel called Elizabeth Burnt, BERNDT. This and that. Elizabeth Burnt, this and that. And we're using my studio equipment to do her webcasts, and she's got about 5 that she needs to get in the can. They're written, and she's got to put them together. Mainly book reviews. She does. She's a writer. She writes stories. We're going to try and do some stories outside with a campfire, and she's going to read some of her cryptid and ghost type stories, and try and incorporate that in with some of her book reviews and so forth. I need to get her to review my 2 books here. And these are good. So when we finally get time off to travel Route 66, we got the Easy 66 guide. Amazon didn't have the newest version. Their version was like 2015. So I got this ordered directly, and at the same time got this one. So I'm going to have her do some book reviews.
From Drew Knowles. That's an oldie. Yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, and I can, I can lay in bed and read this stuff till the wee hours of the morning. So anyway, so that's what we've got set up here. I can move her around on camera. I'm just learning this software. It's Ecamm Live.
You
We
just happen to have
subscribed
that stuff
today.
laying around, right?
Well, the problem is there's just so much to it that, you need a semester college course to, have some level of competency in using this stuff. I used to do webcasts. I quit doing it about 5 years ago. And I did it for fans of the NCIS television series. And we'd get help from CBS. They'd send us clips, and we get the clips like 3 or 4 days before Entertainment Tonight. We had a huge following on social media. Lots of NCIS TV fans. That was back in the good old days of NCIS, starting about like 2009, 2010.
When people kept watching network television, right?
Yeah, and we'd be watching on network television. We do our webcast on Tuesday night, starting at 7 p.m., an hour before the show, Eastern time, and we go sometimes till midnight, just depending on how many people had questions, what kind of guests we had on. We've had on like Muse Watson. He was Gibbs' boss on the NCIS TV series. I used to watch it a lot back then. I don't really like the series nowadays, so I don't do webcasts anymore. But we get between 24,000 and 46,000 live views during a webcast. And we used a platform called
awesome.
Spreecast, but we never went over to YouTube. There's just too much stuff there that we've been given that was copyright, which we're allowed to use to fight with the YouTube censors, the bots that control everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're looking to do interviews. So we're going to interview interesting people. We're going to go out to maybe Brit for the Hobo Convention and, visit some interesting places, record interviews, and then put them together as part of a webcast. I'm friends with 3 different YouTube hobos that are on YouTube and very popular. Hobo Shoestring. His name's Mark. There's also Jumping Off the Cliff. That's George.
That's George.
And he's an older guy. He's retired. Used to own several businesses, like in the computer area. And in his retirement, they went out for a while in a mobile home, and he did videos. And then he decided to start jumping on trains, which I guess he did as a youth. So on a regular basis, this guy's like in his mid-late 60s. On a regular basis, he's hopping trains and recording videos. He's got a smaller channel.
Hold on a second, John. Hold on just a second. I'm going to bring back in Gary Daggett because he's a train guy. Is Gary still there?
Great.
I want to hear Gary.
Hey,
Gary, what's your opinion of people hopping on trains?
Wow. If you want to live, don't do it.
That's the way I feel. I kind of live. vicariously through these YouTube videos.
In the
can tell
20s,
you
that was a
some
good way to
stories
get
I've seen
shot
over the
by
years
somebody
and-
on the train.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
crazy enough to do it, but these guys, I will say, are fairly competent at it. Hobo Shoestring's been doing it since he was young,
Wow.
and he spent a lot of his life, as an alcoholic up until maybe 8 years ago when he started doing videos, and he cleaned up. And he's just a very intelligent guy. He knows a lot of things about a lot of places, and he's an old guy. He's in his 50s, but he looks like he's approaching 70. He's lived a hard life. And then George jumping off a cliff. His videos are very interesting. And the other guy is Anywhere Man, but he's mostly on does short clips on Instagram, TikTok, and he just decided to drop out of his career. I think he was a software developer, sold everything, hit the road, and he does short videos, and he's a very interesting guy to listen to. So anyway, enough of that. That's one of my hobbies. That's how I found Roamin Rich, is because I guess I'm addicted to a lot of unusual channels, especially if they have any kind of history. And I found Rich maybe, 5-6 years. It's been quite a while. And I followed his stuff ever since. We went out to the relighting at the Shamrock. We were there last spring and took lots of photos. I'm a photographer and graphic designer by trade. Used to be a network engineer.
You took a lot of great photos too, John.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that.
Yeah, you do great photos.
Very helpful.
And I always try and include so many people with portraits. So it's a lot of work in post because you've got cropping to do. You've got to adjust photos for not so much for color, but for boosting up the shadows and to make them really pop. And I like to get them on YouTube and out there on social media so people that are in photos can get their photos, so get their free portraits basically. So that's kind of a hobby. I'm hoping to do that at Brit this year. I wanted to do it last year, but I just didn't have the resources together at the time. But I'd like to go to Brit this year, especially if some of my hobo buddies show up. And I'd like to do interviews and portraits of a lot of these people that have been, lived, some of them a pretty rough life living, on trains and, camping outside rail yards. So I'm really hoping to do that this summer.
Well, John, let me ask you something. While we have Elizabeth on here, Elizabeth, how did you get into Route 66, and have you traveled the whole thing yet?
No, just Missouri.
She's bugging me. She's a roommate.
Where are you guys from exactly? Where do you hail from?
We're in Greencastle,
Indiana.
Greencastle, Indiana. It's about an hour west of Indianapolis. It's the home of DePaul University. The university has a lot of very well-known graduates in politics. Dan Quayle was a graduate of DePaul University. So it's an interesting little college town. I do a lot of photography here. I photograph a lot of local events. Part of it's hobby. Sometimes I'm, half the time I'm paid to do events. The other half, I'd like to get some pictures of the event so I can get them on on Facebook and social media. So
I help
of a
you
half
out?
and half. And she's my helper. She does a good job with videos. I picked up a Canon R50, which is their new little teeny tiny camera. Which it's a great little camera.
Feather light.
In fact, that's what she's on that camera right now. And so we're using it as a studio camera, and it's just easier to set up and stream from that because it behaves as a webcam when you plug it into a USB-C cable. My Canon R5, I've got to use the software from Canon to actually bring it in as a camera. And it's big and heavy, and I don't want to have to keep hooking it up all the time. So having that R50
well, John,
is really handy.
let me ask Gary a question real quick, because you talked about the hobos. Gary, I'm sure, because Gary's a train engineer. He's on the train. Tell me, because I'm always curious. Give me one of your best stories of somebody being discovered on a train and how they got handled, or just anything, any sort of a train story.
Well, it's been quite a few years. People don't do it as much as I used to see when I first started. I've been an engineer 26 years, but nowadays they take it very seriously. The trains are interstate commerce, so really it's a federal deal now. If they catch you, it's trespassing on federal property. So it's not just a simple thing anymore. But I've seen people riding the trains. Who knows where they're going. The worst one I had, it was almost kind of a sad story. It was probably about 20 years ago. I go back through my motors as we're going down the road, and I found a 10-year-old girl with her 4-year-old brother in my locomotives. And
Really?
they were running away. And it was kind of sad because I wondered how bad was it at home that this girl was running away and drug her little brother with her. And
Wow.
it was the middle of winter, so I turned on the heaters for them and told them, just don't touch nothing, just stay in here where it's warm. And of course, I called ahead, and this was out in California. When we got to Bakersfield, they were there waiting for them, and CPS came and got them off the train. But that one always stuck with me because how bad was it for those kids to run away and then want to hop on a train and just had no clue where they were going?
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, but
I think
so if that was 20 years ago, that would make her about 30 years old today.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened with her.
I always do. But I mean, I've seen people ride in the cars, on the cars. I've seen crazy people riding on top of the cars, and I know that train's going 55, 60 miles an hour, and I'm like, you got to be crazy.
Well, Hobo Shoestring is missing this portion of his left hand, so he's got these two fingers and a thumb. And that was back in his drinking days. He fell getting off the train. His hand went on the rail, and you know the rest.
Yeah.
It used to really trip me out when I see that hand. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, people don't realize the train's always going to win.
Yeah. And, some people ride what they call suicide, and that's, catching like a grainer or a freight car that doesn't have any floor on the end of it. And there was a real prominent rider, a guy that was really well liked by a lot of people. And I can't remember the name. I'm thinking it was down in Texas, somewhere down south.
Wasn't Hobo Stobe, was it?
No,
Stobe.
So I'll tell you a story about Stobe. But this guy was riding suicide and he fell, and that was the end of him. So it's very dangerous. Crossing cars, even, if they're stopped, crossing cars to get to another line of cars that you want to hop. The problem is when a locomotive pulls the slack when they're moving out, is that car can move 2 feet in just a fraction of a second.
Oh yeah.
And it's very dangerous. People don't realize how quickly that large a piece of mass can jump 2 feet. And so that's very dangerous. These riders that do YouTube videos cover a lot of the things that are dangerous about riding. And I think they probably keep more people from riding when they see how difficult it is than, I think you'd have more people just jumping on a train to try it, not knowing all the dangers. So I think there's kind of a positive good of those videos being there, but I'm not sure how much longer YouTube will permit something like that to be a channel.
It's questionable because it almost endorses the idea of doing that. So, John, I'm going to pause there for a second. This is about the time where I go into the tip of the week, and I kind of feel bad with this tip of the week talking about all this train stuff, but my tip
of the week: don't ride trains.
Don't try.
Well, don't hop on trains and stay away from train tracks.
And things got very serious after 9/11. So a lot of things that were passable, even as us rail photographers, we have to be mindful of a lot more things now. Just doing photography, to stay off of that right away, or at least way back off, a good bit back off the rails. And be cognizant of the things that make engineers nervous. If you're too close to the tracks, that engineer is going to have, his nerves peaked a little bit, basically calling you an idiot. So you never want to be one of those. Yeah. But I do enjoy rail photography. And hey, thanks for having us on tonight, Rich.
Yeah, no problem, John. I'm going to do the tip of the week. Elizabeth, good luck with your channel. Thanks, guys, for coming on, and we'll see you guys maybe at one of the big events coming on down 66.
You will.
Got it.
All right. See you guys. Okay. So getting into the tip of it's supposed to be explore your backyard. You don't have to do Route 66. As Gary had asked me earlier in the show, not Gary Daggett, but Gary Daly, how did I get started? Well, I didn't even know what Route 66 was when I first started exploring. It just explored what I had at my disposal. And the same goes for all you out there. Even if you're not in this country, you could be in South America or Australia or Japan, and anywhere, Jamaica. There's always some sort of cool old historic thing that you can go check out, explore. And I'm a big fan, a big proponent of going and checking out old pathways, roads, bridges, buildings, you name it, anything that's historic. If it's close by, I want to go check it out, and it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to hit Route 66 to have a good time. You can go anywhere in your backyard and check out an old pathway or bridge or something like that. So that's my tip of the week: is explore your backyard. I want to look into some of the comments. We got George. You've been checking out the questions. Is there anything that just jumps out? I think he's still there. There he is.
3 things at once. My fingers are double clicking. You had someone earlier talking about the Centennial coming up in 2026. And then I know it's probably super early for any events and stuff coming up. But we do have, let me scroll all the way up here. If you're watching and you said it, I don't think you need to redo it. I lost you though. Retro Adventures. There we go. It was 2-parter. So this gentleman's wife and him both turned 66 in 2026, which happens to be the Centennial Year. They traveled the entirety of Route 66 in 1819, and they want to travel again in 2026. Do you have any advice during the Centennial Year? It continues. So is there anything that you know of that's going on, or anything to look forward to? It's probably a little premature considering, it's 3 years from now, but is there any rumblings?
Well, as far as I know, most of the 8 states have some sort of Centennial Commission set up in their state, and they're planning festivities. There's also a National Centennial Commission on the federal level. And kind of the big consensus is promotion of Route 66, photo opportunities along Route 66 through the respective corridors that each commission operates, and then festivals and events along Route 66. So I know here in Missouri, we're still gathering up our money, but we got a lot of plans. We got a lot of people that are a part of our commission that are working really hard to make sure that Missouri shows the rest of the country that Route 66 here is definitely worth stopping in and celebrating and exploring. So beyond that, my only advice would be is to put together as much time as you can and pick a time of year, a season that is most comfortable for you. So whether it be spring, summer, fall, or heck, even wintertime, although I know Illinois can be pretty rough in the wintertime around. It's pretty rough down the Southwest too, in Arizona, the High Plains Desert. The winds and the temperatures are pretty brutal out there. So yeah, I would just spend as much time as you can out there, do some loose planning, put together a loose agenda on what to do, and kind of allot enough time in between those stops to do some spontaneous things. And then Jorge wants me to sell one of my signs to him. I can't do that, Jorge. Not yet. Not yet. I one of these days I might have signs for sale, like this one. Woo, look at that. Come and get it. Yeah. These are reproduction signs that I'm putting together. It's pretty long to explain, but the reproduction signs, we may sell them at some point through the Missouri 66 Association. And heck, while I mentioned it, I may as well do a shameless plug here. For those of you who are not part of a Route 66 Association, you should definitely check out the association that I'm president of. It's the Missouri Route 66 Association. We put out one of these great color magazines. Every quarter, you're going to get one of these. This is probably one of the best magazines going that talks about Route 66. It's put together by a leading historian, Joe Sonderman. He's written tons of books on the subject. And then every 3 months, he's writing a basically articles all about Missouri Route 66. And sometimes he throws in Illinois and Oklahoma in there too. And there's just something to learn. Every time I crack one of these magazines open, it's a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to learn something, even though as much as I've been doing 66, I don't know it all. Joe always brings something new to the table. It's a fantastic magazine, and it's all part of becoming a member of the Missouri Route 66 Association. So you should think about that. Okay, what other questions you got here? My husband says I need one of those on-air signs. Oh, I'll think about that. I've got a neon sign over my shoulder over here. Maybe I'll switch up views one of these days. Okay. Let's see here. What other questions, George, do we got?
There's not a lot of questions, just a lot of hellos as usual. So hello, everybody. If you see right here, right there, that's from earlier, route66oftexas.com.
Yep, that's where you want to go if you want to donate to their Phillips 66 gas station cause that they've got going on right now. They're putting a new roof on it and some new gas pumps and stuff. And you can also learn about their motor tour there too as well.
Yep. You know, I'm going to do this because it's the tail end of the show.
Oh, you do it. You do it. Go for it.
I've been threatening this for a while. I'm going to do it. So I want to say how I got involved not only with Roamin Rich, but Route 66. So I actually started working, as you guys may be aware, he has an asphalt company. I started working for him, making training videos back in 2016. And when I met him, I was told that he was Roamin Rich. So I thought that was a weird name. I didn't know your first name wasn't Roman. I was
a lot of people do think my first name is Roman.
Right.
I get called that all the time.
Hey, Roman, it's Rich. So then I find out that, the whole reason, he's into all these videos and stuff is because he's Roamin Rich of Route 66. And I'm like, oh, well, crud. I like Route 66, but I also didn't want to look like a kiss butt. So I didn't say anything to him.
A brown noser?
Brown noser. What else I was going to say? I didn't want to go for the second person saying curse words on here. Yeah, brown noser. I don't want to look like a brown noser for like a year. I think it was about a year at that point. I think I mentioned that I liked it, and every time I did, Rich would be like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure, you, all right, yeah." Never a word. So I also do theater. And one of the shows that I was doing was a little show called Rocky Horror Picture Show. And
do not show this picture. I will murder you.
My parents were there, and they knew that I was working for Roamin Rich, and so they were really stupid excited to finally meet him, to put a face and name all together. And that night, this is a picture of that night. Hey man, everybody's seeing
I don't know. I think
this is worse.
I think George should be more embarrassed. I'll just leave it up there.
I'll leave it up
the rest of the show.
I'll leave it up there.
Leave it up to the rest of the show. Yeah.
That's fine.
I don't feel so bad.
You know me, I don't care.
Oh, you took it down.
Hold on, I'm trying to show both at the same time. Oh, whatever. It's on there. So so I told his wife, if anybody's seen Rocky Horror, the last song, he kind of comes out and starts singing. I told his wife, Chris, to make sure that he was sitting in that spot. And the whole time that I started walking over to him, I got to take it off for a minute. Oh, there we go. He's going, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. And I just kept walking towards him. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. So, I got to sit on his lap in lingerie and really freak out Rich. But then my mother came to him afterwards and was like, yeah, no, we got into Route 66 because of George. Because in second grade, I did a school report on Route 66, and my mother always drove to California. That's how she got to. You're welcome, Jorge. So she had been on the road. We had all, I kind of grew up on it. I always talk about going over to my mom's house, and that way it's not just a black curtain. It'll just be Route 66 everywhere behind me. But up there, that's the night that he found out that I wasn't BSing. And not to mention, I have no fear at all. I'm not afraid, except for certain reptiles. But yeah, he told me don't show that photo. There's the photo.
George loves snakes. He loves snakes. Loves
snakes.
Loves them.
It's the only fear I have. No snakes.
Every opportunity I get, I find a black yard at our work. I like to grab it and take a picture of it, video, and like show George, this is what's going to be in your office when you get here.
I sat on his lap in that outfit. You're welcome, Rita. I sat on his lap in his outfit. He goes, I'm going to get you back. And I said, how? How are you going to get me back now at this point? He couldn't get me back except for a snake. And I'll just go black out and go psycho on someone if I see that happen. And so that's not even legit at that point. That's not a man in his skivvies about to sit on your lap.
In my defense, it totally looks like you're way more into it than I am.
It's called acting, man. It's called acting.
Is it acting? Is it?
That I knew how much you didn't want it. There, if you look, you know what? I'm gonna pull it up big again. If you look, you can almost see the look in my face of that's right, dude. What's up? I was so excited.
So excited and so sweaty.
Oh, I was so sweaty. We'll take that off. I'm taking that off for you, Jorge. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're giving everybody nightmares.
I did.
You know what we didn't do tonight? And I hope George the Fifth is in tune here. We didn't do our picture of the week.
Oh, we didn't do picture of the week.
We got to do picture of the week. I know we're at 66 minutes, but we still got to do picture of the week.
Absolutely. George is pulling it off. I'm going to bounce up so we bounce out so we can see this photo because he's got.
Well, I'll tell you, it's from Kathy Black, and he'll have it up here in just a second. We should probably get rid of the chat. Move the chat off. Yeah, this works. Yeah, so Kathy Black's image, and this is, I believe, right there at Luigi's Pit Stop in Kansas. That's the mileage marker. And I like this picture because I just really could appreciate the sunset. And it's so strange as you're kind of traversing across Route 66, the different sunsets that you get. And I always appreciate driving westbound because you can stop and see these sunsets. And I can't tell you how many times that I've been moved enough to, as I'm driving west, chasing that sun, where I just have to stop, get out of the vehicle, and set up my camera and take some pictures just like this. And so I can really appreciate what Kathy went through to get this picture. It looks fantastic. Great colors there. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. And if you're interested in having your picture featured on 66 Minutes, just go to our Facebook page, 66 Minutes with Roamin Rich, and post your pictures there. And I comb through them all, and I usually like them all. And I may pick yours and put it on the air next week. So speaking of that, we're out of time. We're at actually about 2 minutes over right now, but that's okay. We don't shoot for 66 minutes exactly. I want to thank all my guests for coming on tonight. Gary Daly, Gary Daggett, Stephanie Daggett, Penny, Rita. I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? Penny, Rita, Stephanie, Katrina, and let's see here. We had John, Elizabeth on. Thank you guys all for coming on tonight. And I hope to do one of these again with an open studio. So if you're interested in doing that, you just never know when we're going to have an open studio. But you can catch us every Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, live, in fact. So it's all unscripted. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that we got the website up. So if you're not sure where to watch this, you can actually go live on our website and watch it at hookedonroute66.com. That's right. As we're shooting it, you can watch it on the website. And so you don't have to watch it on YouTube or Facebook if you're uncomfortable with those places. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm Roamin Rich. As always, go your own way. I'll see you next Sunday.